Namaste. Welcome. Thank you for joining Shanti in Place, our weekly virtual meditation. I want to invite you to take a moment, as we generally do, to center and ground ourselves, perhaps finding a more comfortable, intentional seat, adjusting our bodies, our backs and necks, our shoulders. Taking a moment to minimize any distractions, making sure that we are on mute, can keep our cameras on or off as we feel comfortable. Perhaps switching off or setting to silent any devices that are near us. And if we haven't already done so, an invitation here to close the eyes or to soften the gaze. We'll begin, as we generally do, by signaling the start of our intentional meditation sit with the ringing of the bell. And then we'll take 3 deep breaths together. If you'd like to follow along, we'll be breathing in for about 4 beats. We will hold the breath then for about 4 beats, and then releasing the breath on the exhale for slightly longer, perhaps 6 or even 7 beats. The idea is to elongate the breath, to stretch ourselves, to perhaps go a little bit deeper. If, like me, you're battling allergies today, it's a terrible day for those of us with pollen allergies. You may be a little sniffly or you may have some respiratory issues. So just a reminder to be kind and patient with yourself, to adjust what you need to adjust. And if perhaps it's more accessible and helpful to breathe softly between the lips rather than the nose, perhaps even keeping some tissues nearby if we need to. The idea with meditation is not to pose unnecessary challenges to our bodily comfort, but rather with intention to build discipline, presence, awareness, and focus. So we need to give ourselves permission to adjust whatever we need to adjust, to be most present and focused and aware. We'll begin. Breathing in. Holding. And out. Second time in. Hold. And out. One more time in. Hold. Release. Continuing to breathe deeply, slowly, and with intention. and allowing the breath to find a space, a flow, and a pace that feels comfortable and natural. When we invite intentionality into our breathing, we don't need to artificially control the breath. Just by introducing that intentionality, naturally, we often find our breath slows down and regulates itself. It settles into something natural and life-giving. It can feel a little unusual at first, especially if we're so used to spending most of the workday moving at perhaps a really fast pace, in a pace that we feel like we need to either have very short and rapid breaths or maybe even hold the breath in. But it's amazing when we allow the breath to just find itself again. We can just notice this breath and any physical sensations that accompany it. Noticing perhaps feelings of expansion in the chest, in the diaphragm, or the belly. Noticing sensations maybe in the throat or the nostrils or the mouth. Observing our breath allows us to observe ourselves, our embodied selves, ourselves that exist in the world of physical sensations, but also ourselves that exist on the plane of thought and mental activity. Continuing to notice the breath, and any physical and mental sensations that accompany it. Noticing our thoughts doesn't mean being led to wherever they want to take us, but rather simply noticing and observing what is arising for us in our minds. And then gently and with ease, bringing our thoughts and our awareness back to this moment. Back to resting on the breath. If we'd like to, we can think of this breath a little bit like a metronome. And our returning to the breath is a little bit like the way a practicing musician might return to an awareness of the metronome, to stay in beat, to stay in time. Continuing to stay grounded in the breath. With intentionality. If we'd like to, we can take our hands and turn them so that our palms are facing up. And we can simply rest the back sides of our hands on each knee or in our laps, with our palms open and facing up. If we'd like to, we can bring our awareness to our hands, to our palms. Perhaps we notice some physical sensation associated with the hands. An awareness perhaps of the weight of gravity or space against our palms. a heaviness or a lightness. Whatever it might be, simply noticing it. If there's some emotional sensation associated with our palms being open and facing up like this, we can observe that too. A feeling perhaps of receiving, or perhaps of giving, of sending forth. For some of us, perhaps there are feelings of some vulnerability here. We can observe those feelings as well. And if we need to, we can remind ourselves that we're safe, that we're grounded, that we can always return to the breath, to this moment, to anything that gives us stability in this moment. We can stay here, observing the sensations, observing the breath, and that's absolutely fine. Or if we'd like to, from this space of openness, perhaps of receiving and giving, we can start to bring our mind's eye and our heart's eye towards a loving kindness meditation. Bringing to our mind's eye and our heart's eye an image, a picture, perhaps simply the texture of feeling safe and secure. of feeling held and protected and sheltered. We can imagine those feelings or textures of feelings. We can imagine them just for a moment as something filling our open palms. Something filling us with abundance. Allowing ourselves perhaps to feel their weight, their substance in our hands. Bringing to our mind's eye and our heart's eye now the image of someone whom we love, whom we care about, to whom we would like to send some of this wonderful substance we're holding in our hands. Or perhaps someone with whom we'd like to share whatever it is we're feeling, so that it can grow and expand and extend out even further. Bringing into sharper focus the image of whoever that person is who's arising for us in this minute. It doesn't have to be the same person. It doesn't have to be the only person. Just someone who right now is arising in our heart's eye as the person we'd like to share this abundance with. And perhaps if we'd like, we can address them with this abundance. We can speak in our own words, making an offering to them, or if we'd like, silently repeating this simple phrase: "Oh, beloved, may you be safe, may you be healthy, may you be happy, may you live with ease, giving and receiving love." imagining perhaps that wonderful substance we're holding in our palms now leaping forth from our palms or slipping gracefully, the way we can scoop up some water and then allow it to almost effortlessly pour out from our hands. If we'd like to and feel inspired to, we can take our palms and very slowly and intentionally, we can raise them up. We can keep them facing up or perhaps just slowly turning them so they're facing outward. And we can bring to our mind's eye or our heart's eye, if we'd like to, now the image of those souls, those beings who are suffering throughout the world, but perhaps particularly in these areas like Ukraine, which are in such a dangerous, precarious situation, where that suffering has become so real and immediate and urgent, where there's so much fear and anxiety and uncertainty. And again, feeling the weight, the substance, the realness of that powerful substance of protection and kindness and love. We can radiate that out, addressing the world and addressing especially those suffering in these conflict areas. In our own words, or if we'd like to, we can silently repeat this affirmation. Oh, my suffering family members, your suffering is my suffering. Your joy is my joy. May we all be safe. May we all be healthy. May we all be happy. May we all live in peace and at ease, giving and receiving love. If we'd like to, very slowly, with intentionality, we can bring our hands, our palms, back to our knees or our laps. Now turning our palms face down, as if to seal our intention and to once again ground and anchor ourselves. We'll close our meditation sit once again with the ringing of the bell, taking one final deep breath in, and chanting or simply being present to the sacred syllable Om, the sound of the universal and the infinite, on the exhale. Breathing in. Om. Gently and with ease, you can open the eyes or widen the gaze, returning to room awareness, returning to our precious gathering together. Thank you all for joining us. I want to encourage you to continue this practice or similar practices that help us to ground and center ourselves, but also to draw from our feelings of the safety and security that we are all blessed with to various degrees, whatever our circumstances, and to try to the best of our ability to take those feelings, to take that groundedness, that security, that safety, and with intention to send it and share it to those most in need. We'll continue to gather virtually for our Shanti and Place meditations every Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern. Please continue to join us as you're able to. Have a wonderful rest of your day and rest of your week to come. Namaste.